Let's talk about the vaginal microbiome and how things like those fancy soaps you're using might actually be disrupting your pH balance. My name's Morgan Miller. I'm a certified professional midwife and the co-author of the Cycle Book, A Guide to Understanding Your Hormones and Knowing Yourself. That gentle, non-toxic, natural soap that you've been using may actually not be that gentle when it comes to your vagina and your vulva. I know that's not usually what people are expecting to hear when they're going out of their way to get those eco-friendly products, but to really understand why that's true, we need to zoom out and talk about what the microbiome as a whole is for our bodies, because it's not just a vulva thing, it truly is the whole body concept. Your microbiome is this community or party of microorganisms, mostly bacteria, that live in your body as well as on your body. And I know when you hear bacteria, it often sounds like those are the things that we're supposed to avoid, and that's why we do things like bathing and washing. But bacteria and all these tiny little microbes are actually really essential to keeping us healthy and alive and functioning. They help regulate our immune system, fight against infections, help us with digestion. It's truly like this built-in defense system that we have. So our goal is not really to get rid of bacteria so much as to have a really nice balance between what's around and make sure we keep the right ones present and in good ratios to everything else. Now, different parts of your body have all different little ecosystems of these microbiomes. Your gut has its own environment, your skin has its own environment, your vagina has its own environment, and then specifically your vulva as well. They do all have one thing in common, each of these different environments, and that's truly the idea that they function at their best when things are really at balance. There's not too much here and too little here. It's just this nice, steady balance. So we're not talking about sterility with the body in this sense. We're not talking like super squeaky clean in that idea. We're talking about balance when it's the microbiome. So to take a step back again, let's think about the vagina and the vaginal microbiome. This microbiome is really focused on a particular type of strain that's called lactobacillus. That's the one most people are familiar with. That's like, in your yogurts or in your kombucha if you're hitting the booch, whatever it might be. But this bacteria really makes the environment just a little bit more acidic. And that's when we're talking about things like pH and pH balance. That acidity is really great because things like yeast and candida and bacterial vaginosis, these like common vaginal infections, they don't really like to be in that space. So if you have that really nice balance of that acidity with the lactobacillus, you're less likely to have the other kind of microbiome hanging around. So it's when we have the balance that we avoid that microbiome disruption. One of the most common ways that people accidentally disrupt that beautiful ecosystem is the products that we use. And it's really hard when we're going out of our way to get really helpful, eco-friendly, environmental, clean, natural products. But most of them are actually just a little bit more alkaline, which is on the other end of the pH when we're talking about those things. And when you use something that's alkaline in a space that wants to be acidic, you kind of shift the environment and what its balance looks like. And that starts to invite some of those bacteria that we don't really want to hang out with, like bacterial vaginosis and Gardnerella and Candida, the stuff that typically makes things a little bit weird down there. And that can end up looking like, tissue dryness, irritation. You just have a yeast infection over and over again. Basically all the things people are often trying to fix by washing themselves more, which is where it starts to get crazy because it's a bit ironic there. You end up, taking better care of yourself by not intervening in those highways. And the crazy thing is that, none of us are doing this on purpose, but what I see all the time in my practice is especially products, like with Castile soap in them that are marketed as gentle and non-toxic, end up really wreaking havoc on these spaces. So if you're out there, bronzing your vulva, it might be time to take a break. So here's the reframe. The goal is not to make your vulva cleaner. It's to not mess with, a system that's already working. Your vagina and vulva are self-cleaning. they don't really need that much help. You don't have to do internal washing or douching or special products. Like warm water is often enough. And I know it can feel, suspiciously simple. Like seriously, that's all you need is a little bit of warm water. But truly, these little environments in our body are so clever. They know how to clean themselves. If we just stop getting in the way, that balance can really exist. And if you want to look for products that you're really into using, definitely stick to fragrance-free, simple, like understand the ingredients, and like look for taglines like pH balanced and microbiome friendly. These are really helpful when you're looking at, sensitive areas like the vulva and vagina. And, more products is not necessarily better. It's usually the opposite. This idea of, zooming out again for a second and just supporting your microbiome, with everything that you are, which might be, how you walk around in the world and exist, and what kind of underwear do you wear? Is it breathable? Is it cotton? Are you, going to yoga every day and then hanging out in your yoga gear, or hitting the sauna and like not really taking a shower afterwards and just hanging out in sweaty gym clothes? Those things are all things that will kind of feed that bacterial overgrowth. So it's really being connected to understanding how your microbiome functions that can really help out. And again, this isn't about perfection. It's just creating environments that support the balance in your body. And of course, like if you have ongoing weird stuff down there, like itching or weird odors or discharge that doesn't seem normal to you, then sometimes it does make sense getting that checked out and, seeing if there's a way to sort out that balance more specifically. Because your body's usually pretty good at communicating what it is that it needs when something's off. We just have to learn ways to be responsive to it and understand what it's trying to communicate with that like strange odor or new discharge. So teeny tiny tweaks like changing what we're washing our body with or washing our vulva with, if you're choosing to use a soap in that space, can make a huge difference. This might be your moment to break up with that fancy soap that you thought was really helping you out. And, that microbiome might just be truly so relieved to find this new routine in your life. If this has been helpful and helps you rethink things a little bit, feel free to share it. This is one of those topics that a lot of people were never really taught, but it makes a huge difference. Good luck out there.